Yeah, that's just because I'm on the tablet. Yeah. So, thing is coming on first of Barry, then Jeff, then Welchie. Yeah?
Yep.
Okay.
Hello.
Here is
Barry, welcome, man.
Yeah, you fine guys. Cheers, yeah.
good stuff.
Hello and welcome to episode 10 of Celtic Rumours TV, the Bawz and Bovril podcast with your hosts Mark and myself Paul. On today's show we'll be joined by Barry, known to you guys as Iceman on the forum, John, known as JFP, the former will be listed join the show, and Brian, known as Welsh Boy from the forum, will be on the show. First, Barry, welcome just to Mark there for a few shout outs to Mark there first.
Just the usual, Tim Alloy in ROH, and well, as for Ben, he's got a nice wee surprise because his dad won the £50 Amazon voucher. So his dad will be able to spoil him a wee bit this week. Hail, Ben.
Barry, welcome back to the show. Your thoughts on today's game?
Oh God, where do you start, guys? Just a massive disappointment. It goes a lot, ties in with the whole season. I was really hoping that we were going to get a reaction today. The last sort of chance to salvage anything for what's been a terrible season. But I don't know. Right from the word go, they just didn't look like it. We didn't look like a team that were there to defend. Were Scottish Cup. It didn't look like a team that had much about them, and it was just a massive disappointment. What I mean? It's. Even the attitude, it just wasn't there for me. There was no enthusiasm, there was no determination to go to your local rivals' home ground and defeat them and keep our chances of defending the cup, keep them going. So a massive disappointment. But like I say, it ties in with what's happened this whole season.
Yeah, kind of didn't really come as a surprise with the results, considering the way we've been played all season. Like, I know it kind of still hurts the way we played, but it's not really surprising the way the team turned up. It was like an Lee Lennon team from the start of the season, wasn't it?
I mean, it was, and sometimes it's like it's sad to be saying that, but I think the result probably doesn't come as a shock to us, and that's not the way it should be. I mean, from my point of view, when I watch Celtic just now, they don't seem to have any sort of direction, game plan at all when they step out onto the pitch. They just seem, everything seems to be reactive. It seems to be when a player receives a pass, it's a case of have a look up and see what's on. If there's nothing on, just come back the way. But I mean, it was just so easy for them. It really was. I mean, they didn't really have to come out of second gear, and it was just a canter for them. Granted, listen, we had 2 or 3 chances, but there was no way they would deserve to win that game today. And you know what? I'm still hurting. It's painful. It was painful to watch. But it was disappointing in regards that there was just no effort. There was no tempo to the game. I don't think there was a tackle put in, and the attitude of some of the players out there. It's really disappointing. It really is.
It is. Like as you said there, like there was no tackle put in. Like there was no bite. There was nothing from the start. Like myself and Mark were talking before the game. Like we thought Celtic would come out from the start. Put a marker down here that we are the best team in Scotland and stuff like that. But Jesus, like they fail on that front,
That absolutely. I mean, that's what I'd agree. To go and take a stranglehold in the game, go and take the game to Rangers, control it, put them on the back foot, really sort of create chances, etc., etc. But there was just nothing at all there. Like I say, some of the attitude of some of the players, it was like a training game. It really was. And like I say, they didn't have to do anything.
John,
their first goal comes from our attack. Callum McGregor takes a poor touch, intercepted. We're on the back foot. But even then, when the cross takes a deflection or a shot, whatever it may be, there's 6 Celtic players in the box and 2 Rangers, and it's the Rangers player that reacts first.
Exactly.
And, like
really
say,
poor defending again. It's really poor defending again.
Yeah. It's the story of our season. I don't know. I just think if there's 2 players in the box, you just go up against one. You pick them up. But
John Kennedy was saying. John Kennedy was saying, and he said we were too passive. We lacked confidence. We lacked confidence in defending. We lacked confidence up in front of goal, and we were passing the ball for the sake of passing the ball, just to pass it to a different player to take over the possession.
Well, that kind of goes back. Sorry.
I could have told him that. Not telling. John Kennedy's not saying anything there that we didn't say ourselves this afternoon.
It goes back to, like I say, a lack of game plan, and I feel that's been the case all season. Like when Neil Lennon was there, obviously I'm pointing the finger at John Kennedy. It's just followed in similar fashion to since he's taken over. They don't know what they're doing when they're stepping out there on the pitch. There's no clear strategy. There's no plan as to what each other's jobs are. And you look at them; they're a lot more slicker when they're moving forward, and their movements. They know what they're doing. We don't know what we're doing. And
yeah, it looked like a very confused team again, didn't we? Today, didn't we? Confused. We didn't know what we were doing. What player was in what position. They were clueless to what they were doing out there today. Like what this,
Story of the season, Paul. It really is. And
but where do we go from here, Barry? I think we kind of found out today now that John Kennedy shouldn't be in consideration for the next manager. If myself and Mark say, if there's a director of football involved in the club, and if the man, what are they seeing? Like, what are they seeing in this club? Like, what do you think they need to do? Like, what would they be thinking if coming in next season?
Well, like we've discussed before, guys, that there's going to be a massive overhaul. I really wouldn't be surprised to see an announcement this week as to who the manager and director of football are going to be. I think that tends to happen when clubs are going through a difficult patch. Bad news, they tend to try and counteract it with a bit of good news. I think that obviously Dominic Mackay will be announced tomorrow. It wouldn't surprise me that if there's not necessarily tomorrow, but certainly in the next week or two, we'll find out who our manager is, as well as potentially director of football. But it's like I say, it's basically ripping up the scrapbook and starting again. Because like I say, the players out there today, to a man, they were so poor that I can't think of anybody that would get pass marks. I really can't.
No, you actually couldn't give a good mark to a player out there today because they were actually so bad. Mark, your thoughts on what do you think we get an announcement next week?
I think there will be, but I just like to ask Barry. You've played at a higher level than I've ever played at, Barry, and probably a lot is on here. So, see, even back then, what were you told before a game? And what did the manager tell? Did he tell you specifically who you to pick up at corners? Do you know what I mean? What was the actual manager's instructions to you?
All things like that were covered, Mark. You had your instructions down to every fine detail. So, like you say, at set pieces, you had a man to pick up. That was your man. And if that person scored, it was your fault because you're there to pick up. But you're given instructions on what to do when you're in possession. You're given instructions to do on what to do when you're not in possession, when the opposition have got the ball. It's all down to every fine detail. And this is what I've had many conversations with my friends, Celtic supporting friends, and like I say, this season it just seems to be that the players don't have any. They're not under any instruction, and whether that be Neil Lennon's lack of tactical awareness, whatever it may be. It just seems that every time, I don't know how you guys feel, but it seems like every time these players step out onto the park, there's nothing there. There's no strategy at all. Look at today, the amount of times that John Joe Kenny, he got the ball, acres of space in front of him, he puts his foot on it, he passes it back to Welsh. There was no movement up front. I was disappointed in Edward's attitude. I really was. You know, I've praised him in the past for what a great talent he is. But I'm sorry, I'm not accepting performances like that. I'm not having that kind of attitude. He offered them no problems whatsoever. He's making Helander and Goldson look like good players, which we know they're not the greatest when they're put under pressure. And I'm maybe on a bit of a rant here, guys. I'm still probably hurting.
Yeah,
a bit,
but like we're entitled to it. Like, you know, like the result is bad enough. But as we were talking, the thing, like, it's the way the team loses, Barry. Do you know what I mean? It's the way you can take a loss, but it's the way the team loses, and there was no fight in that team today. Like, it was just beyond acceptable. You can't defend that Celtic team this season, and especially today when they had a chance to redeem themselves and they didn't. You know, and it was just the same old story with them. You know.
Yeah, no, I mean you're spot on, Paul. We can, you know, as Celtic supporters, we can accept, you know, maybe losing a game or you know, the odd draw, dropping points, etc. If they're out there, you know, really going for it, really showing a good attitude, desire, determination, you can accept. But that's not been there. It's not been there the whole season. And, you know, week after week, the comments come in, and I've myself included, posted on the forum, the disappointment, but there's never been an improvement, and that's not acceptable. You know, you can maybe forgive the odd game or two whereby, you know, the players are not quite on it or are off the boil, but the way the season's gone, it's just been an absolute embarrassment. I feel embarrassed to be a Celtic supporter with a performance like that today. There's just no urgency, you know. There was an opportunity. We know we've had a disastrous season, but here was an opportunity today to at least salvage something, at least give something back to the supporters, give a bit of pride back to the team, the players, the management, etc. And, you know, right from the word go, you could tell that it was just so passive. There was no closing down. And, you know, personally, I don't know what Mark and Paul, what your guys are. This diamond formation for me, I just think I can't go it. I think it's a disaster.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work for us.
You need the right players for it to work. It's like any system that a manager wants to play, he needs the right players there that are capable of doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I feel that. Sorry,
I was just going to say, for too long we were putting square pegs in round holes. Like Christie playing out in the right, it's never got. We doubted whether it was going to work, and it's been proven that it doesn't work, and yet they persist putting Christie out in the right hand side.
I think that's why it was introduced, Mark. I think that Lennon introduced this system because it gave him an opportunity to play his favourites. So it let him play Brown, McGregor, Christie. Okay, he introduced Turnbull later on, but I think earlier El Yunusi. I gave him the opportunity to put these guys, because this was a system that suited them, but not necessarily the team. I just don't understand. I mean, you know, I'm a big Callum McGregor fan, but again today, you know, he's just
non-existent.
He doesn't affect you. You know, we saw Callum McGregor when he was at his best. He makes great passes. He makes great runs. He drives with the ball. Playing on the left of a diamond, he's just, you know, his career's regressing at a rapid speed. But, you know, like I say, it's one of these that we just need to sort of rip up the copybook, start again, get a new manager in as soon as possible. For me, this season can't finish quick enough. I think there's 4 league games left. You know, like I say, I think you'd said, Mark, on Thursday, and you were bang on. This was the game. Forget about the other 4 league games. This was the game, the important game for Celtic, the one that there was a trophy at the end of if we were managed to get through it and win the remaining games. And to see that team go out there today and perform the way they performed and show the attitude that they showed, it's actually embarrassing and hurtful as a Celtic supporter that's what we have to put up with.
There was a few fans saying there on the live chat there during the watch along that they would drop these players and start bringing in some youngsters back to get them feel for the first team. Seems we've nothing to play for now, we've nothing to lose. Just get them in there for the first team and see what they can do. What's our thoughts on that?
I'd be absolutely for that. I mean, there's not one player today out there that could be disappointed if they were dropped for the next game. I think we've got Aberdeen on Wednesday, don't we? So if anyone, if Kennedy was to turn around and drop all 11 players, there's not one of them that could put up an argument and say, I don't deserve to be dropped. Now, listen, I don't think you'll drop all 11, etc. But no, I think the boys that are maybe on the fringes like that, maybe a couple of the younger boys, we've got 4 sort of meaningless games, if you like. You know, it doesn't go to count for anything left of the season. Why not give these guys? Because, like I say, if that's the attitude and the desire that these guys are going to show going into a Glasgow derby against your biggest rivals, when there's the Scottish Cup that you're the defending champions. If that's the performance we're going to get, I don't know what I don't know what we're going to do. It's a sad time. Like these guys are serial winners. The players in that team today, they've won so many trophies. They've performed at a high level. They've been great for the football club. But this season, to produce that kind of performance week after week, I think we're now 34 games into the season, as well as the cups, which have been another disaster. It's just, I just can't get my head around it, to be honest.
Going into the clear out, Barry, are you confident that you would keep any of those players that started today, or would you say if they went, you wouldn't be bothered if they left?
I mean, not all of them. I think what we've spoken before, and the guys on the forum, etc. We know that there is going to be players going. Like I say, potentially Ayer, Christie, Edouard definitely, and Cham, another few. You don't want to get rid of all of them. There is players there that we can look to sort of build a rebuild around. You've got guys like Turnbull. Although today, give the young man his due. He does always look to go, but you need more from him. He looks to always get on the ball and fair play to him, but you need more than what he gave today. But there is guys, Turnbull. I don't know, Mark. You think McGregor's going to go? He might very well go. But for to keep a hold of him, there is another few. But I think today as well, maybe not a popular opinion, I'd want to keep a hold of Griffiths. I really would. I just think a guy that's scored over 100 goals for you. Listen, I'm certainly not going to defend him in terms of he's let himself down, he's let the club down. His attitude's maybe not the greatest. If we could turn that round and get somebody to really get in his head, I think he's still a potential asset. And even the penalty today, it was him that's sniffing around a rebound.
He won.
That's the Griffiths that we know. He's always in and about there. So if we could get him, if we could get him in the right frame of mind, I'd be wanting to hold on to him. But at the same time, if he does go, I certainly couldn't have any complaints. But no, I wouldn't get rid of everybody. But certainly, the back four, I think Kenny was really poor today. Laxalt, another one that was really poor.
I was actually surprised at that Laxalt was put into that team again today. Very surprised, considering the way he plays, he gives away dangerous free kicks. Anytime a player ran him, he went to the floor, Barry, and the player got past him, stand up, defend the ball. Shove the line or something like that, but jeez, he was shocking.
Defending was very poor, and you look at the difference. Like I say, I'm certainly not going to want to dwell on and speaking about the other team for any length of time, but you look at their fullbacks, they were bombing on, they were really, looking to get forward and make a difference. Our two fullbacks just weren't interested in doing that. No. I think what was apparent today as well is we really need to look to get width into our team. Granted, James Forrest wasn't available, so I appreciate that's the case. But we lack so much when we've not got width in our team.
Because I remember there was a passage of play in the thing when McGregor took the ball and he looked out to the left and Laxalt was by the halfway line and he had to play the ball back in the inside and again. So I can see what you're saying like that. Yeah. We have no one come down to, and that was always the style of players. Celtic have good wingers, have good things, but geez, did we lack that today?
Yeah, I think it goes back to what I was saying earlier, Paul. There doesn't seem to be any game plan or structure when we go out. You said there McGregor gets the ball, he's then looking up to see what's on, and if you're saying there Laxalt didn't make a run, if Edouard doesn't drop into space or whatever have you, he's then to come out and play again. Whereas previous managers, they would be under instruction. If McGregor gets the ball, he's wanting the wide man to push on.
Exactly.
He's wanting Edouard to drop into the hole. He's wanting Griffiths to go in behind it. He's got multiple options and he knows what these options are. But like I say, this season they've been not there. It's all reactive football, and it's been a massive part of why we've been a bit of a disaster this season, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. Mark, yourself?
Oh, I think Barry's nailed every point there. There's not much else I can say to that, Barry, to be honest. You've covered everything, really.
I feel like I'm glad that we didn't have this podcast at 5 o'clock because I might have not been as calm as I am now.
But when you're talking about your players and that, I would say young players, like Welsh, I wouldn't write Welsh off for that when you're saying what players would you keep. Well, I mean, I think young Welsh has come on leaps and bounds this season.
Oh, sorry, no, listen, absolutely. I mean, I've been on the forum posted and singing these praises. That's what the point I was trying to make. I certainly wouldn't get rid of all of them, but no, Welsh would be one of them. Sorrow, I didn't really list them, but the likes of Welsh, Sorrow.
Do you think that should have been Brown's last appearance?
I think it should. Well, listen, we know he's not going to be here next year, and
in the team.
Get Sorrow back in there, Mark, even for the final Celtic Rangers game, because, like I say, we know he's not going to be there next year. And again, I thought this was an opportunity. I actually thought Brown might go and grab that game by the scruff of the neck.
Exactly.
He must be knowing that this could be his swan song, his last opportunity to lift a trophy, potentially last opportunity to play against that lot as a Celtic player, as a Celtic captain. But even, Brown himself, I'm not singling him out. Every single one to a man was poor today. But I was disappointed in his performance as well. I really thought he'd recognised that this was his last opportunity, to go and put a mark on the game at them, and it wasn't there. So absolutely, what both you guys are saying, let's get some of these guys in, some of these guys that aren't getting game times. There's young guys, and Montgomery was on the bench today. There's other guys in there that, 4 potentially meaningless games. Let's go and give these guys opportunities.
Is he a left back guy, Montgomery?
Montgomery is a left back. I mean, see, when you search him on Google and look at, it's got him down as a striker. But
he used to be a striker.
He's not a striker.
Yeah.
Maybe he was a striker, but he is down as a left back. And I think I listened to him getting interviewed on Celtic TV. He is very much being moulded into a left back. So, give him an opportunity. Let's go and see what he can do in the last 4 games, amongst others, because like I say, those guys out on the pitch today, there's no way that they could have a complaint if they're dropped for the remaining 4 games. Not that I think
they will be. Do you think they're hurting, Barry, the players after that game? Like they've been this all season. Do you think they're hurting after today? Do they know that their performance has been bad?
Paul, I'd love to turn around to you just now and say I think they are hurting. But when you've had, what's 85% of the games that these performances have been exactly the same, I certainly don't think they're hurting as much as we are tonight, or the Celtic supporting family. I don't think they're as hurt as much as they are, and maybe that's an issue. Maybe these players, maybe they don't, for whatever reason, have the passion that the ones had, or I don't know what it is. I mean, I'm not offering this up as an excuse by any means, but I do think it's a reason. I think without the supporters in the ground, I don't know. I mean, these players, they're not reacting. I don't know if the supporters maybe give them that extra 15-20% to really get their game up and running, but it's difficult to answer the question, because I don't think they are hurting. I don't see it. If players are hurting, if players want to really make a difference, they don't turn performances in like that week in, week out, and that's what we've had since August, unfortunately. Like I say, all teams have bad spells and can go through a bad patch where they maybe struggle. But to get 34, well, maybe not 34 league games, but the large majority of your league games and cup games and European games, that's what we've been saying week in, week out. So, if you're hurting that much, do something about it. Make a change in your performance. Show the supporters, show the management that you really care, and that you're wanting to make a difference in this team. But I've not seen that, and I'm hurting right now. I really am.
I think every Celtic supporter is hurting. Not so much the result. We can get over the result, but it's just the manner where we lost the game, that we were just non-existent today. And I really did expect more from the players today, and it just didn't came. And when I was doing the watch along, it was very, very hard to do the watch out, to get yourself motivated for it when you're watching a game like that,
Because it wasn't even that exciting, or not. It wasn't even a good game to watch. Even if you were a neutral, you wouldn't. I mean, if that's the best Scottish football's got to offer, it's a bit. But big questions to get answered there as well, isn't there?
Has the point gone out of the Celtic and Rangers games, as you think, considering like the great games we had when we grew up, watching the likes of Paul McStay, Peter Grant, Alan Thompson? Has that bite gone out of the old form in recent years? Not the old form anymore, but has it gone out of it, Celtic and Rangers, the kind of bite in it?
I think it has. Like, can you remember?
It hasn't helped either this season.
Definitely, I think that plays a massive part in it, and I think that's been the case for the majority of games. But like, you never see a tackle now. You never see a player going in and putting a stamp on some, not literally a stamp, but going in and giving a guy a good sort of kick or a sliding tackle, hitting a player. You don't see that now. And from that point of view, maybe the bite has gone out a bit, but going to the point of the supporters, I think it's affected us negatively, and I think it's affected them positively. Because, like I said earlier, I think that we're maybe struggling to, which isn't an excuse, by the way, but I think we're maybe struggling to get motivated for games, which I cannot believe, but it certainly appears that way in the park. And see, the other mob, they're playing with a freedom that it doesn't matter if they make a mistake because there's no fans there to get on their back, and they're using the lack of fans to their advantage. Whereas I think with Celtic, it seems to be working the opposite way, where our players don't seem to be motivated for whatever reason.
The next Celtic range is huge. Then we think that we have to beat them so they won't go unbeaten in the season. And the way this team is playing at the moment, we don't feel confident that Celtic will beat Rangers. Like, Rangers will be undefeated in every single game against Celtic this season. Is just hard to believe, isn't it?
It is hard to believe it, and like you say, I mean, you would think the next game is an important one, but you would have thought this one was a bigger game.
Yeah.
Like I say, this is the one that, we're the defending Scottish Cup champions, so this is our trophy, and we just sort of let it go with a whimper. You would have thought that, like I say, there were so many things riding on today, potentially a lot of players, this is their last opportunity for a trophy at the club, the last opportunity to maybe play in a Glasgow derby, but to watch that performance today, that there was some of that, I kind of understand why players walk about the park. How can you walk about the park in a Celtic Rangers match? I just, what I was like. It was like we treated it like a training exercise, and like I say, they just looked so comfortable. It looked like they thought, we don't believe that Celtic can hurt us. We don't believe that Celtic have
no fear. They had no fear of the Celtic team, so they didn't. It's like this fear factor of Celtic just seems to be gone this season. That any team now that plays against Celtic is thinking, we can win this game.
Well, the reason the fear factor's gone, Paul, is because players are seeing what Celtic are producing week in, week out. So if they're watching these teams as an opposition player for whatever club it would be in Scotland, you're thinking, these guys don't fancy it. I fancy our chances, whether that be you're a St Johnstone player, an Aberdeen player, a Hibs player. To watch Celtic's performances this season, you'd be thinking to yourself, you know what, they don't fancy it. I reckon we can beat them. And it's been proved, okay, we've maybe not been beaten that often, but we've certainly dropped a lot of points. We've certainly drawn a lot of games. And I think you're right. The fear factor going up against Celtic, it's just not there anymore. And teams fancy their chances when they're playing against us. And it's something that we need to get back. We need to, with the recruitment and that during the summer and whoever the manager may be, we need to get back to where players do fear coming to play against Celtic, whether it be at home or away. It's something that we need to rebuild again. But, just now, with what's happening out on the field just now, there's certainly no reason for any player to fear going up against Celtic, unfortunately.
Yeah, final thoughts there before we begin on next caller, Barry. Where does this team go from here? You said you're expecting an announcement next week. Do you think we will make an announcement next week?
I think within the next 2 weeks, I think there'll be I might go out on a limb here. I think Eddie Howe will be appointed very soon. I think Eddie Howe's the manager Celtic have got tied up. I've got no information on that. It's just my own feelings, my own thoughts. But I think that deal's done, and I think there'll be an announcement soon. And then hopefully Eddie Howe can start working away in the background, and whoever the director of football may be. But like I say, it's going to be a massive overhaul in the summer, so we need to get the ball rolling now. Who's going to be here? Who's not? What players are we looking to bring in? And we really need to sort of rebuild this squad back to something that's going to be more competitive next season.
Mark, any more thoughts for Barry before we move to the next caller?
Right, what Barry said, he's been great again. He talks a lot of sense and he gives a wee bit of insight in what goes on in the actual professional game. So thanks very much for coming on, Barry.
No worries, guys. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Thanks very much. Next on the line, we have JFP, John. John was with us after the match. He was a bit disappointed, so hopefully John has a bit kind of calmed down. I hope so anyway. Is he on the line?
Just call.
Mark?
Just calling him now.
like Barry did give us a good insight there actually to what you're saying there, like Mark, like a manager telling you the tactics, like you know who you mark, you know what your job is and things. That's been non-existent in Celtic this season, isn't it?
That's what I mean. That's what I was getting at. It doesn't look as if we plan for games like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I read about that every player got a dossier off of Rodgers about the next team they were playing and their opposition and who they were marking and everything. That's not going on now. And if it is going on, the players are just they're no reading the stuff. They're no.
Mm-hmm. Do we have JFP on the line?
You there,
Paul?
John, good.
Yeah, good man. Thanks for coming back,
Yep.
John.
Yep.
Any thoughts, John, what you were listening to Barry there, what he was saying about like when he was told before a match, like he was told what to do, how to mark a player, what player to mark in set pieces. That has really been lacking this season from Celtic, hasn't it?
I think there's no doubt about it. I think long before today, I found myself sitting and saying to my son, I don't know what system Celtic's playing here.
No, exactly.
I can't see any formation. I don't understand the system. But as I said earlier on, and it's hard to. I mean, I thought Barry made some fantastic points there.
Mm-hmm.
These are obviously coaches. No having a system, no having a formation is obviously a coaching issue.
Is that coming down to the lack of knowledge from like John Kennedy and Neil Lennon, like the lack of like that's basic stuff from a manager, really, isn't it? To have these players things drilled in.
It's back to what we said earlier on. I would love to be sitting here thinking tonight that was our only worry was to sort out the coaching side of it, but I don't think it is.
It's not. Yeah, exactly.
I think, as I said to you earlier on, I think it's for board, manager, coach, recruitment, youth development, and the question's got to start and stop with Dermot Desmond.
Yeah, Barry thinks we might have some. Yeah, walk away.
Just when we're talking about the board there, John, what you were saying when you were on earlier on, talking about like what happens in board meetings. See, do you think that Peter Lowe, like we know his ego was astronomical. Do you think that the Celtic board were just happy to sit and let Peter Lowe get on with it? Never questioned him or never. Do you know what? It was just Peter Lowe came in and whatever Peter Lowe said went.
Kind of his way and kind of no way kind of a thing, is it?
Well, can you imagine Ian Bankier that turn around and saying, "Oh, wait a minute, there, Peter, we'll maybe no do that."
Yeah.
Well, I think obviously Peter Lowe. I mean, it's been said that he's had interference in football matters. I said my biggest question just now is Paul asked me a question earlier on. He said that would I like to see Dermot Desmond handing over the reins and letting somebody else take control, and the only answer to that is that would depend on the answer that Dermot Desmond gave you to the question: is he up for this? Is he up for it as he once was? If that's the case, fine, as you are. If that's not the case, well, we'll leave it to somebody else that's willing.
I think that's the best answer you can get out of that, John. Really, that's the best answer.
Only he could. So I almost think my kind of way of dealing with something is kind of looking at it from a management perspective and standing back for this. I almost think that to be talking about it even in terms of coaching issues or players is almost kind of. For me, you're starting too far down the tree, and the biggest question is: have we got problems at bigger issues? Board level, manager, coach, recruitment, youth development. There's something. There's something wrong in there just now. You, Paul, you'd mentioned Neil Lennon. Neil Lennon can't possibly be held responsible for the failures for top to bottom. Top to bottom. It's been a monumental act of self-harm. I mean, once again, we're all sitting here, we're all hurting tonight, and it's I can take defeat, as I said earlier on. It'd be one thing.
And you're sitting down with your son, John. What was your son saying to you about the match there? What's kind of
I didn't see it. I had to go on your commentary, Paul. Unfortunately, I couldn't see it. I was listening to the live chat. I was watching the live chat on my phone. I was listening to you on YouTube, so I didn't. I've not had the benefit. I've not had the benefit of seeing it, but. Back to what Barry was saying, I was expecting Celtic to get them in the back foot. Didn't happen. There is absolutely, there is just nothing there. you would question, coaching, but the heart, there's just something. As I said, if you think about the first team players, the other thing he mentioned there was, have we suffered for the fans not being there? And this is an excuse. Celtic should be looking nowhere for excuses. Years ago, people were saying, if Celtic don't do 10 in a row, the only people that will stop Celtic doing 10 in a row will be Celtic, and that has proved to be to undoubtedly to be the case. But we have undoubtedly, as Barry said, suffered more, been affected more by no fans. But whether Celtic runs in passion, that whatever it is, and they've almost had a positive effect. As Barry said, we've been affected negatively. They've almost been affected positively by the fact that they've been serial bottle crashers with them on their back, and they've not had that. But if you stand back for this and you look, we've got no manager. If you look at the first team squad you've got now, how many players are we looking at? How many? How many would you be sitting here? How many would you keep? Who are we talking about? Are we talking about maybe? And even then, it's all maybes. Maybe Turnbull, Calmack, Forrest, the rest of them. Sorrow by all accounts. Who knows? Big question mark there. Brown, I think on balance, fantastic servant to the club, and I'm not, as I say, he's earned the right for me not to sit here and ridicule him, but he's obviously lost half a yard, and it was United Ireland that said the day the game's won and they lost the middle of the park, and we're not capable of doing that again. And Scott Brown, I don't think, is capable of doing that now. Ayer's probably away. So who are we talking? Out of the first team squad? As I asked you earlier on, Paul. Yeah. Who would break your heart they were leaving, and who would you want to stay?
There's no one really that would break my heart at this precise moment.
Exactly right.
That would leave, and it's a sad way to be for a Celtic supporter.
I think Mark said there about keeping Welsh. Other than keeping Welsh, I would like to. I think Calmack has played above and beyond for a couple of seasons, and for whatever's causing the malaise in there just now, he's potentially affected by that. But I would cut him some slack in that he's carried us in the middle of the park there for a couple of years. But
I've said for a while, for me, it's McGregor that's running how we are in the park. It should be McGregor that's controlling the pace and the way we play.
Exactly.
Because we said it earlier, with Brown, it's always a wee pass to the side or a pass back. When McGregor was running the show, we looked a totally different team.
It was definitely more fluid in the middle of the park. I mean, we're talking about, so who else is there? If we keep Calmack, Turnbull. I mean, there's been people comparing him to Paul McStay. You think, wait a minute.
No, it's a long way to go.
Turnbull's got a long way, very much premature, Mark. But Paul McStay was showing more than Turnbull when he was 16. Playing 2 years above himself, the Turnbull short. He's undoubtedly a prospect, but comparisons to Paul McStay,
exactly. It's a long
way to go. So you could start for the back, you could start for the goalkeeper and work your way out, and you would say, I don't know how many first team players we've got. I'm guessing that we've got a first team squad, maybe approaching 20 players in it, and I'm struggling. I'm struggling to think of somebody that...
You could say at the moment there's only 3 that you could name out. 3 or 4. Thornhill,
Welsh, Turnbull, Forrest, Calmack, if he wants to stay. And who else? It'd be easier to fill out the other list.
I don't think we've seen much of... We didn't see too much of Zora to see if he's able to fill the boots of Skpe, really, have we, for next season?
I think you're right. I don't think we've seen enough. But if it was if you were asked to fill the bus tonight for a deport, that would be easy to compile that list. Rogic, Christie, Griffiths. Although, and I know he's had more chances than he's had hot dinners, but I certainly I've got question marks about selling it to your competition in Scotland and Barry.
I'm actually having a few thoughts about that now at this moment. Do you know what I mean? If you're having this big huge cloud, would it be actually interesting to keep Lee Griffiths around? Because he's an actual goal scorer. Do you know?
So Rogic's away, Christie's away. Griffiths for me is worth another punt under a new man if he can get his head right. Eddie would do wear the hoops again for me after the.
No.
If Big Duffy has come in for the criticism he has done and he based in his performances, Eddie's right up there with that for me.
There was an interesting thing there on the live chat there today, and I noticed that the fitness guru said the forwards I have a lot to answer for this season. If you don't score goals, you don't win. And by God, did Edouard miss the first chances this season, not just today, but all season. And you're right, Duffy has been getting the slack, and Duffy has been poor as well, but he can't be sharing all the blame for the way this team is playing. Like Edouard too has a lot to answer for this season, the way he just dunked tools.
But see, back to what I'm saying, Paul, I would like to think we're all here, we're hurting tonight. I can hear the parties all round about me. They were missing in action yesterday because they were watching something else in the telly, and they're in their thousands a night here.
I think any other season, John, Duffy would have been a good signing for us because he wanted to play for Celtic. He wanted to play in front of the fans, and with his father passing away, like it really did affect him, like didn't it?
I think it might have been a different story if Big Duffy lost his father this year, if it hadn't been the pandemic situation, if the fans had been in the park. Who knows? There'll be nobody more disappointed than
Duffy himself.
Than Big Duffy. But back to the night, I'm sitting here with questions about the board, questions about Dermot Desmond that only he can answer, questions about the manager, coach, who's come in. I'd like to think, I asked you this question earlier on, do you think the manager's watching that today, youth development? But back the other night, it's not just the defeat. I can handle. I've taken enough defeats off of them over the years, but it's a man of the defeat. We're back with one yellow card and no reds.
Exactly.
Which is
and that's the thing that's hurting us most, I think, is the man of the defeat today. The way we played. The
last time, Barry used the word as well. It with a whimper. Was no fight. No heart. You've lost it in the head. For me, the decision today was who wanted it the most, and then the two men in the respective dugouts. And I think Kennedy lost that one the day all.
And why is that, John? Like the no heart and not? Is it because these players want away? They don't want to be at Celtic?
There's a question that for me there, Paul. There's obviously something. There's something causing the malaise there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Lennon's away, so we can't keep pointing the finger at Neil. So what is it? What is it? The culture in a club, everything comes from the top down. As I said, I'll start my questions with Dermot Desmond in terms of is he up for the fight? Is he one was and only he? I think what I said to you earlier on as well. We've all fought out money last year and backed the club. And not being in the ground again. As I said to you about the parish priest saying to me, John, that's if you still get a season ticket, that's an act of charity. Now, if we're going to do it, as I say, I'll be delighted I'll be renewing my season ticket. That's a personal choice for everybody. But I think before we're asked to put our hand in our pocket again, if you're making any other kind of investment, I think.
Do you think they will make a big investment? Barry was saying there he thinks he has a hope that maybe announcement will be made the next week or two.
I think certainly we need to hear something, Paul, before anybody asks us to stick our hand in. And while there'll be people like me that'll just do it because they don't know any better.
Plenty of people out there that's wives will have better roads for the money this year.
It's been a hard year as well, Mark. It's been a year when some people's lost their jobs. It's been a hard year, so I'm not going to stand. That's up for everybody. I certainly don't agree with people that's asking fans no to renews the
and not know what's going on and what not know the future for next season or what plan they have for next. That's.
I mean, I think Celtic, as I say, we've got this question about the disconnect. I think it's time that Celtic come out and I think either tomorrow or certainly this week you're looking for some kind of announcement, whether it's who's coming in, whether it's Eddie Howe, whether it's Harkins, whether it's Hughes. We need to. I'd like to think we're going to be hearing something this week.
Do you think that's why the season book renewals have been held back? Because they're usually up by this time, aren't they?
Well, usually they're as wide as the Clyde, Mark, in terms of trying to get your money out. As I said to you last year, trying to get your if anybody was wanting to run a refund last year, you'd need to have been a Philadelphia lawyer to get it back. But if you'd have bumped into your laptop, you'd have renewed it. So it was checks. Celtic was sending out checks last year, amidly a pandemic when we were encouraged not to leave the house. To go to the bank with a check. So they couldn't have made it any more difficult. And you're thinking, listen, if you're going to be wide, Glasgow's not the city to be wide in. It's time. It's time. We saw Rodgers try to come here and be wide. If you're going to be wide, Glasgow's not the place to do it. It's time for Celtic to put their cards on the table here and tell us what's the script here. What's the script before you ask me to go and put the two is to put a hand for an hour, £1,200 in our pocket for another season that we might or we might not get into the stadium.
As I said to you earlier on as well about it, it's well, as we said, it's a personal choice, but there's people.
100%.
There's people there. To me, they're working agendas. Do you get what I mean? There's folk out there within the Celtic support. They're working their own agendas, trying to get their own some kind of power for themselves.
I don't really understand. This kind of share stuff and
expert on it, but for me, it's never going to work, because as soon as you've got somebody on the board, you business guys will know better than me. You're that boardroom confidentiality. It's not as if they're going to get into a boardroom and kick up a stink and then come out and tell everybody what was said, because they're not allowed to do that.
Personally, I was quite happy to pay Celtic my money, whether I was in the stadium or not last year. I didn't want to do anything that would damage the club, and I would, as I say, I'm quite happy just to fund it. And I realise that there's people in different positions this year, people who lost jobs. It's been that's a different thing. But I'm certainly, these fans that are asking, that are kind of encouraging fans not to renew their season ticket, that's a step too far for me. It's I force the club into answering questions here, hold them to account, starting with Desmond and working your way down. There's questions to be answered here, but I don't think deliberately asking people to do something that will damage the club.
Yeah, it's one person's choice, really, isn't it? Don't be putting kind of words into another fan's.
I've seen people on Twitter now. I'll no begin back to Dermot Desmond does this, and I'm not renewing.
That's a lot of nonsense.
See the thing about that, right? John, you can afford it, right? The only way you would stop getting that ticket is if you can't afford it.
That's right.
And see, even though it's embarrassing to say you're skint, just be honest about it. I can't get my season ticket this year. Don't make it as if you're some kind of, do you know what I mean? Some kind of saviour that's making a big stand, being no renewing for other reasons. Just tell the truth.
I'm sitting here tonight it's disappointing, as I said. I'm maybe not as bad as I was when I was younger, but it's still certainly sore. It's sore any time you lose to them. But it's the bigger questions I've got, as I said, for the top down: board, manager, coach, youth development, recruitment, all of the above. Obviously there's something almost kind of endemic in the club just now that's making me thinking, am I sitting here 100% confident that they're going to come up with a solution here? And no, I'm just no. We're in a position. We know we're in a position here with them that we should never have been in, and that's history. That's done. But do we believe we'll get the business acumen and the foresight sitting in at Celtic Park just now for Desmond down to come up with a solution and a way forward? I'm certainly not sitting here convinced.
I think Dermot Desmond's happy not to be involved in the day-to-day running. As we know, he appointed Lowe and just gave him a free rein, basically, till the wheels fell off.
Yep.
But
what happened, Mark, about his lad? He was meant. I can see it, I know myself. Even in terms of, you just come to a point. You come to a point in your career, you're just not willing to do what you once were. Whether that's the hours you worked or the commitment,
what does Dermot Desmond do? That's what I'm saying. He doesn't really want to take much to do with the involvement for the day-to-day running. So I'm hoping that guy comes in with 50 years. I was saying earlier about Peter Lowell walking into a boardroom meeting. He's the main man. These wee old guys like Ian Banker are just sitting there saying, Peter, very good, Peter. I do that, Peter. So I think that might be a problem, is maybe need a few fresh blood on the board. And hopefully Mackay can be that fresh blood. And even if
exactly right. Yep.
Guys are still sitting there, very good, Dominic. That's good. You do that, Dominic. At least it's somebody else. It's some ideas. It's different. It's going to be different for Liverpool's time in charge. Because Dermot Desmond's a majority shareholder. I really don't think he wants to take much to do with actual running of the club. He's willing to pay. Well, he was paying Lowell millions a year. Let him. He's happy to be what they'll call him, the absentee landlord. So it's the people that Dermot Desmond's trusting to make the decisions. What you're saying is it a wee bit higher up? Is it in that boardroom? It's just stagnant. It's been
I think
there for years.
I think you're looking. I think you'd be looking to hear for the club at the highest level this week, and for to hear Desmond. That's what it's got to start. Desmond's either got to tell you that he's up for the cup here, excuse the pun, and he's happy to do whatever needs to be done here, or facilitate that at least, or he's no longer up for the cup anymore, and in due course when he finds the right person, he'll be handing over the reins. Either way, we would know that. Then you come down a level, you've obviously got Mackay in charge, and then we can talk about whether it's Hughes, it's Harkins, Eddie Howe, which seems to be the only really kind of name in the frame just now. Although not the right man for me, but the two names that are kicking about, none of them are really making me. None of the two of them would stop me renewing a season ticket, but certainly none of the two of them getting me excited about renewing it. Either Eddie Howe or Roy Keane.
I think whoever
Even if we were allowed in the stadium, do you think Eddie Howe would get the same reception as Rodgers did?
Mark, I mean, it's almost Eddie Howe rather than Eddie Howe for me. As I said to you earlier on, his CV doesn't. For me, his CV doesn't merit being in the frame. And as I said to you, I just think culturally, and as I said to you, I mentioned this to you earlier on, somebody criticises in the banner piece for saying, what do you mean culturally he's a bad fit? Does that mean you need him to be Celtic minded? Do you need him to be, what does that mean? Do you need him to be an Irishman? No. And I said to Paul earlier on, I watched Peter Grant, Tommy Burns, Paul McStay crying in the park because it meant almost too much to them. And conversely, I saw Lars Snow, possibly one of the greatest, if not the greatest players I've seen in my time at Celtic Park, almost benefiting for being a step removed for that burden and just being totally 100% professional. So I don't need him to be Irish, I don't need him to be a Celtic man.
Just been the best fit for the job, really, isn't it? Yeah.
Aye, but I still think even culturally, Eddie Howe's going to stand in Glasgow and think, man, what's this all about?
A big difference between
massive. Have you ever been in Bournemouth? Mark?
No, I haven't.
It's a Blue Rins Brigade Tory heartland.
Well,
if there was a bigger, if there was a bigger gap between, if you said to me what's the opposite of black, I would say white. If there was the opposite of green, I would say blue. If you said to me what's the opposite of Glasgow, I would say Bournemouth.
But I said that when they were talking about that Man City manager coming in, that under 23 guy.
Yep.
How was he going to deal with the pressure,
yep.
Living in the Glasgow Goldfish Bowl, being the Celtic manager, where half the city loves you, half hate you. They hate your wife, they hate your kids. The other half,
yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Eddie Howe's the
same kind of person as that.
100%. I don't know.
He's 20 odd year, isn't he?
He said how far. I watched that interview and they were talking about how far north he'd been before. Man, he's got absolutely no idea what he's coming into up here. None.
Maybe that's where his assistant and that will come in.
Aye, well, he's obviously, even in terms of, I mean, we don't know we've not had anything. Fair play to Celtic, they're playing if something's happening, they're playing it all quite close to their chest because you're hearing nothing. I'm certainly hearing nothing.
No, there's nothing. I'm checking every transfer rumour site, everything, there's nothing.
No,
everything that's coming out is all speculation, and that's it, like, you know. And I think for any manager coming in next season, after seeing this season, how this team withdrew from a winning team, there's going to be pressure right on the manager from the start of next season.
But if you think about where we are, we're weeks away from season ticket renewals as we stand here the moment, based on the night's conversation. We've had another rollover performance when we're back for Govan, capitulated again, right? No shows again, one yellow card, no reds, another defeat. Question marks at board level, no manager, nobody coaches, nothing for recruitment, nothing coming through Lennox. And
like I was just saying there, I was just saying to Barry, John, like, it'll be very unusual if Rangers go unbeaten in the season against Celtic. You know, if we don't win the last game in the league, it's unthinkable, really. Like, if we can let that happen, like, you know. But it doesn't surprise me with this team, you know.
It's just a bad end to a bad season. You couldn't write this season, but as I said, it's. There's question marks. You know, if you look at that problem, think about what I've said: board level manager, coach, youth development, recruitment. We've had problems.
Mm-hmm.
Would you think?
I know, Mark, you put him down as a legend the other day, but would you think the way Lord runs the club, like, and if it's his way or no way, like, is he the problem within this
I think
thing that felt like,
I've said that for a while. I thought Lovell was the main problem in the full thing. It was his
Mm-hmm.
way or no way. But yeah, again, look at the trophies we've won under him. Look at the players we've seen playing while it was his. That's why I put him down as a legend. Because
But has it backfired, that,
I,
Mark? Did
I,
it
I,
backfire that we
I
wanted
think
to
you're
keep
right,
these
Mark.
players, Mark? Do you know, like he said, we didn't sell our best players. Was that a problem this season, that we didn't sell these players that wanted away?
I
The
think
likes of Edward and Oyer and Christie, Julian, and was that the problem here?
I think
You
I
know,
think it was a problem for the players, and I think that's where it's all stemmed from. Certain
you
players.
know, like if you're seeing, if you're Griffiths, like I know Griffiths has been fit and he did less, but if you're Griffiths and you're seeing Edward playing like that and he's no interest in playing, and thing like you're going to be unsettled too, like if you can't get into the first team too, realistically, aren't you? You know.
But I tell you one thing, it made me feel a bit better hearing Barry saying that he's watched him and thinking that he can't see a system and he can't see a formation there, because I thought it was just me. And I've sat there and watched it, and I thought,
said that weeks ago. I honestly, anytime Celtic play, I cannot tell you the starting formation because I don't know what players were, what position they are, because they just seem to be all over the place.
Was it Mark? What was it you were saying? I thought you were saying that Taylor didn't he cover himself in glory today? No, what was it you were saying about Taylor today?
No, I didn't say that.
Was it the opposite? I must have picked up wrong for the text. Aye.
No, you must. No,
Aye.
I thought Taylor done well when he came on.
Aye.
And he should have started with Laxalt.
Because for me, he would have started before Laxalt, exactly.
But why was that? Like, what was the thinking? Like, I thought the thinking was, and we thought it was, to get at this young lad Patterson with Laxalt's wit and speed. But geez, he didn't even pass the halfway line.
Yep.
Didn't even pass the halfway line.
As we said earlier on, right, and I think we've all talked about the one thing, the lesson you learn this season as well, if you want to learn anything from Govan, is the benefits of a goalkeeper. And a spine of a team, and we've got neither a goalkeeper, a dominant.
Have we all been making these mistakes, John? Then we didn't notice it because we always had a goalkeeper like Gordon and Fraser Foster. Like, they were 20 points to us as well, realistic. And you said earlier on, Alan McGregor's 20 points to Rangers.
100%.
And that's where
when he came back to them, I said that to Kieran. I said he's worth 20 points to him. As I said the day earlier on, he's new. You could give him half a cup. He probably went a long way to securing the leg for them. And he's probably halfway to a cup a day. But if you think of a spiny a team, goalkeeper, centre half, dominant midfielder, and a striker, we've got none of them.
You go back to the first time Lionel was in charge. You had Foster, you'd Van Dijk, you'd Wanyama. That was a big spine there. No, you actually couldn't name a spine in the Celtic team.
No.
No.
As I said, that's the worrying thing, is we've got questions at every level of the club, and without repeating myself, and I say that if you take, I don't know, I would need to count them, 20 odd first squad players. I'm struggling here to come up with somebody that would worry me if you were telling me they were leaving the night.
Mm-hmm. Are you confident next season? Going into no, I'm not about that. But I'm about, like, if you listen, the league is over in a couple of weeks, and it's not going to be far for the Champions League qualifiers that we have to get into.
I'll tell you one thing, Paul. I'll not be confident if it's Eddie Howe that takes charge.
Mm-hmm. Perfect.
I wouldn't be confident if it was right.
You're at a bad age, John, man. You do some amount of moaning.
I know, exactly. It's
moaning that we didn't get anybody sent off.
Well, can you see? You can see his point. Mark, you can see his point.
No, I'm just
leg. Yeah, I know that, but I think every Celtic fan is like that today. Like, they're asking questions, and no questions are getting answered by the club. There's no direction from the club. As Celtic fans, we actually don't know where this club is going.
Well, as I said to John, he's saying he wants a statement or that for Desmond. Well, we're never going to get that. He doesn't do many statements, but hopefully his actions will show his intent.
That's it, yeah. That's it. Like, his next actions now, when the manager, director of football, are going to have, these need to be big estate, and they need to get fans excited, really, don't they?
I think you're exactly right. He's the man to tell us. It's as Paul said, I want him to hand over the reins. I don't know. He needs to tell me if he's up for it, fine. If he's not, he needs to leave it to somebody that's willing. Only he can answer that.
Perfect. John, we're going to let you there. We're going to be big on right.
Is that you barking there, Mark? Is that you barking? Or is that...
Grot bags growling at me.
Listen, guys, we're all hurting tonight. I'm listening to the street parties all around about me here. Airdrie's buzzing tonight. So it's. I wish I was confident here that Dermot Desmond's feeling it as bad as we are tonight, but it's if that's not the case, at least he's capable of making the right decisions to allow us to move forward to hopefully turn us round about next season.
Perfect, John. Thanks very much for
guys. It was lovely speaking to you, and thanks everybody for joining in. And
John,
next on the show
good night and God bless.
Thank John.
Bye.
Next on the show we have Brian, known to ye as well, G-Boy, on the forum. Mark's going to connect him up. That was an interesting statement there by John did about David Desmond. He can only tell us if he's up to the fight, Mark, by his next kind of statements, isn't it?
But yeah, his next actions will know whether he's up for it. I mean, if he turns around and appoints John Kennedy, it's just
exactly. So we know then exactly where this club is going. Brian, welcome to the show. Your thoughts on today's news?
Do you really want my thoughts on that?
Oh yeah.
Christ, can I swear? We're live TV.
You can swear. It's no Big Brother.
How bad was that?
Shocking. Absolutely. I actually can't explain it.
Do you know something? We talked earlier and I said in the podcast, I said, see if we turn up, we win.
Mm-hmm.
Never turned up. Pure and simple. Nobody interested. It's embarrassing.
It was embarrassing. Well, considering like the game against Livingston and winning 6-0, everyone was fairly confident after that win going into this game, but they proved everyone wrong today. It was the same attitude as we had at the start of the season, losing games that they just had no interest, Brian, did they?
Do you know something? See, if we were a poor team, that's one thing. But see, having no fight, that's unacceptable. We go into these games and we just don't battle. We're terrible in defence. We don't go man for man. I don't know. It's shocking.
But it was interesting what Barry was saying there about that. What he going for man, like that's drilled into him. He said when he was a soccer player, professional soccer player, that was drilled into him. There seems to be no direction from the coaching staff, like stuff drilled into players, like because they actually didn't know what they would do. I got your opinion that these players didn't know what to do. And he said in his statement, he said they passed the ball for the sake of passing the ball, and all they were doing was just passing the ball back and forth between themselves in a own half, 2-0 down.
I was never as good as Barry. And by the way, what a guy! What a guy to listen to. Mm-hmm. But I played till I was like in my mid-30s. See, when you played football, you got stuck into people, and I just never, I can forgive not playing well, but see, getting stuck in.
Yeah, you can't forgive that performance today, Brian. So you can't forgive that. Like
people keep saying about John Kennedy, and Lennon's he's putting a picture when it comes to this one as well. See if he can get up for a game against them.
Exactly.
But let alone a game against them in the cup. Then
I thought it was going to be drilled into them today. I thought it was going to be after him coming out during the week saying we're the best team in Scotland. I thought he would have had that, and that's why I thought that this team would come out and put on a performance today. And from the start, I just knew it that Rangers were starting a better team again. It's always seems to be the midfield. We lose these games, isn't it?
Do you say about getting drilled into these players? These players have been here a long time, quite a lot of them.
Exactly. They know what it means. Yeah, exactly.
And you know something? That there shouldn't even need to be a team talk. It should be, we're playing them, go and do it. They should be up for it. They should be up for it at the start.
You're right, exactly. Your rivals, your local rivals, your main rivals and things like the hatred is there. That you don't need any excuse to be drilled in for that game or going for tackling that game. Are they afraid to get injured or are they afraid?
They shat. Pure and simple, they shat it.
Your thoughts on Edward taking that penalty? I knew he was going to miss it the minute I saw him take it. I just had a feeling he was going to miss it. When I seen him, when Griffiths came up, I seen Griffiths probably wanted to take the penalty, I think, and Edwards see it, and I knew then he was going to miss it.
Do you know something? Stevie had that chance in the first half, and he went with his ankle. You
Yeah,
knew then.
exactly.
You knew then. I mean, that was a perfect opportunity. Just for 2-0 down, just drill that in the back of the back
Yeah,
of the net.
what was the point in trying to do that kind of back flick thing, whatever he was trying to do?
He was,
Because he's a smartass.
he was set up to just put his laces through it, as I said earlier on, and he's adjusted to try and make the wee fancy flick instead of just leathering it into the net.
He'll not do that for France. That'd be the back of the net.
Exactly. He just I wouldn't play him for the rest of the season. I
wouldn't play half of them, mate. I'd just start again. See, I'd walk in that changing room and say, who's here next season, who's no, and see if you'll know what to be here. Start again, because we've got nothing to lose now.
No.
Story about Griffiths' contract, true, and it's actually up with a year's extension. I would be drafting Edward and saying, right, Griffiths, this is your chance. Do the damage for us and you'll get your year's extension.
Griffiths did look like a first. Sorry, Brian, go on.
So carry on. Griffiths and another one. You know,
I was just saying like that. Griffiths did look like a frustrated figure on the sidelines there today. I think I just kind of noticed that myself. But he's let us down so much this season. Like, could you trust Griffiths to perform the last 4 games?
I wouldn't give him a t-shirt. Not at all. Yeah, boy, there. He's a
put in instead of Edward.
It's no a case of putting Griff in instead of Edward. Griff's had his chat. How can you not be up for playing for Celtic? He's had 3 seasons to get him. I know he's had his troubles and everything else, but he's had the chances. You know, and I don't get the thing with Griffiths. If you can't be up for playing for Celtic, then you just don't deserve to be there. Pure and simple.
Yeah, I honestly, it's true what John was saying there. But go, if any player actually left Celtic at this stage, would you be worried, Brian?
I think most of them are going to leave anyway. So next season's going to be a rebuilding thing. Today was the last chance to salvage anything from the season, and we done nothing in the game at all. You know, we never even ran them close. If you ask me, you know, it was nowhere near. So for them players in that squad, they had a perfect opportunity. See if you go out fighting and you lose 1-0 or 2-0, then fair enough. But can any of them go to bed tonight going, I've done my best?
You know, you're like John Kennedy picks the team, and I really don't think you can put the fucking blame on John Kennedy as well. Like, these players went out there, as you said, like if it's not drilled into them to beat your local rivals, like, look, these players shouldn't be at the club. You know?
Listen, I grew up in Glasgow with youth football and stuff like that. We used to play supporters club against supporters club, and we'd be like the Celtic supporters club. We'd play against the Rangers supporters club for under 9, under 10s or 11s. Then you move on. You were up for it even then. So these players now should be, you know, that's Rangers. We get stuck into them, and we've done nothing. Nothing. It's embarrassing.
Mark?
Oh, I agree with Welshie there. Be up for anything. We should be in there fighting for it. I mean, as Welshie's saying, playing against other supporters clubs and that, I'd end up fighting if I was playing tiddlywinks against a Rangers supporter. Too many players, as Welshie says, just didn't seem as if they... And we know that they do know what it's about. We know who they know. We know they know, kind of thing, how much it means to the fans and that, and it just, they're no showing up for it.
This is these 6 or 7 new players, like you say. They've been there for a few seasons. They know. They took all the plaudits for the last couple of seasons, you know, when we were singing their names, chanting away from them, supporting them and everything else. They know what it's about. And if Stevie comes down and tells me over money, then it's just a slap in the face for us fans.
Do you think that these players that they can't actually play this diamond formation that we played? Like Barry was saying that this formation was introduced by Lennon to bring his favourites into the team. Is that the problem? That we're just constantly playing the favourites, you know, instead of the best players?
Regardless of the formation, that performance today was not due to formation. That performance today was down to guts and commitment and
100%.
That down to, as I keep saying, the professional pride. The players knowing this is our last chance. We've seriously messed up this season. This is your last chance to get a trophy, to give the fans something.
Do you think there'll be an announcement in the next couple of weeks, Brian? New manager, new director of football, where where we're going to go forward.
I'm actually not in a hurry for an announcement. I just need the announcement to be the right announcement for now, because the season's gone, so it doesn't matter whether it's next week or the week after. It's about getting it right. That's the most important thing for me. You know, you can't just come out with an announcement next week just to appease the fans after the embarrassment of this.
It has to be the right thing, like, you know.
Right announcement.
You know, would you think Eddie Howe be the right man for the job after this team, like the rebuild we're doing? John, fine.
Sorry, I went off there.
Do you think if it was Eddie Howe, do you think he'd be the right man for the job for the rebuild?
Do you know something? It's like, I don't even know if it's going to be Eddie Howe. I don't know who it's going to be. But to me, it needs to make that decision, nail it down, and get behind whoever it is.
That's it, yeah.
We can't dictate who it's going to be, but it's the structure that's the most important thing for me. You know, I said this in the podcast the other night there, we've lost the 10. Next season's about getting my title back, of course it is, but the pressure's off now for how things go, but we need to start laying a marker for how we're going to go going forward. You know, and it's more about the structure for me than anything else. You know, with Lawwell's out of the picture now, you're only buying these £2 and £3 million duds. It's about spending the money correctly and getting the right players. And some will work and some won't, but it's getting the right structure.
It's not like spending on quantity of players. It's actually spending on the quality of getting these right players in. Like, we don't have to be buying, we say 10, 15 players just for the sake of a squad. Like, you want players to come in that's going to exactly make an impact to the starting lineup, isn't it?
100%. But in all fairness, you're looking at a starting lineup today. You know, I like that lineup, but they never turned up. Where were they?
Yeah.
You know, if you start, we said at the start of the season. You know, at the end of the day, we kept our best players, rightly or wrongly, through contracts. It might upset them, whatever it might have been. But we kept our best players. Me as a fan, as a paying fan, going to the game and everything else, I was buzzing at the start of the season. It was about rebuilding. It was about going and winning the 10. And the team we had was good enough to do that. But for some reason or other, just know what.
Do you think there was something like I've asked a lot of the callers over recent weeks? There's definitely something going on behind the scenes that we don't know about that has affected this thing from the board down.
Do you know something? See, even players are looking for moves. None of them have covered themselves in glory. You know, you should still be getting 100% no matter what the contract
situation. Exactly. If you're a professional footballer, yeah, exactly. It's your job, really, like, isn't it? You know.
Not even just for your job. You know, how do you get your moves? You play well. You know, I've not played well.
You know, realistic, how much do you think, I know it's a bit of an exaggeration, like, but how much do you think the club need to spend on a rebuild next season? Roughly.
Listen, I can't put a figure on that. I think Mark's made it his point plenty of times, it's 100% right. It's really not about how much we spend, it's about how much we want to pay people. You know, it's the wage structure determines how we move forward.
Wisely we spend the money.
Exactly.
Do you think we need to start looking at our scouting? So with a new director of football, is that a department we need to be looking at, the scouting? You know?
Well, you know, the scouting, we can talk about the scouting. Obviously, it's not been so good this season, but you say it's not been good this season, but the team, like I said at the start, the team we started with was I was happy with that. And you know, over the years, we brought in some crackers. We've moved them on for some big fees. Essentially, that's what we're about. You know, so I don't know. I really don't know. I can't put my finger on exactly what's going on this season, other than players are down tools. I blame the players 100%.
Oh, without doubt. You know, there's no excuse for them going out on that pitch today and have played the way they've played. You know, you couldn't even rate a player on that performance today.
You look at it another way, right? Had we won the 10 this year, we'd be like, we want to keep Edward, we want to keep Paya, we want to keep Elanusi, we want to keep all these players. See, just now, they can all get to fuck as far as I'm concerned. Start again and move on.
Yeah, exactly. Start again and move on, like, because you can't forgive the players after this season, after down in tools like that, especially. Today, now, is the one game that really got to me. You know, I thought it was a chance for them to redeem themselves, playing the Scottish Cup 4th round against your rivals. chance to knock them. You know, and if that's not enough to fire you up for the game, then I don't know what's going to fire you up for the game. You know.
Listen, it'll be the first season since 2010 where we haven't won anything, and that's embarrassing.
Mm-hmm.
Considering the size of the club we are, you know, I remember I slagged one of my pals off as a wee hun, and I say, your biggest problem is you threw money at players coming through the leagues and try to win this and try to win that instead of building up for youth and move yourself forward, and you've not progressed. Fact is, we've not done that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we should have used this last couple of years, but in my opinion, Lawwell and the board have just been happy to keep them at arm's length to keep the money coming in and everything else. It's, you know, instead of just blowing them out the water.
That's it. Like we left them come too close to us, didn't we? Yeah. You know, we left them come too close to us, and they should have been nowhere near us this season. You know, we should have had no troubles in getting that 10 in a row this season with the squad we had. No problems getting that 10 in a row.
No, but yeah, there's no problems negotiating a Sky contract again because the Huns are back.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Mark, any more thoughts?
No, I'm fine just listening to you two rabbiting away. Just Welsh would be. I knew Welsh would have plenty to say.
Oh, I'm biting my tongue there, Mark. I'm biting my tongue.
Trust
me.
Worse. I was going to try and fit a beeper button in or that, but
I just want to put one thing to Joe actually there, and I said it during the watch along. Do you think Scott Brown moving on next season? As I was watching him there today, like he seems to be the one that keeps passing the ball back and side to side. Do you think we can actually see a different style of play that if Scott Brown's not in that first team, that we be moving the ball a bit more forward?
We've said that for the last couple of seasons with Scott Brown. We sort of thought he'd win away a wee bit, but the fact that he's still a first name sheet actually shows, you know, that things aren't moving on. You know, he's we're going to miss Scott Brown the person. There's no doubt about that. But Scott Brown the person and the player is no the Scott Brown that we've known for the last few years. I don't see him being the reason why we'll change the way we play. I think whoever comes in will have their own style and obviously we need to promote whatever they come in with.
Mark?
What?
Anything?
No, sorry, I was doing something else here, Paul.
No, we just said like.
Say
that again, Welshie.
We're keeping you awake there.
No, I'm trying to get this dog off me.
I was just.
It doesn't like it when I'm sitting with headphones on because I'm talking. He's like, who's he talking to?
One player just wanted to ask you about Welchie, and 2 games now we played against him, and he had 2 poor games against him, in my opinion. And do you think he's a player we should look after? Think it's John Joe Kenny?
Do you know, he was one of the players that came in with a big reputation. I say big reputation. I watched him when he played in Germany. He seemed to be. I had a few Everton fans, pals of mine, who were saying that, you know, they wished they got him back and, you know, he was doing well, stuff like that. But I've seen nothing from him. He's reluctant to go forward, which I don't know if that's just due to the fact that he's positional play, that's what he likes to do, and he's sitting back and stuff like that. But there's just no progression from him. I don't know. I think maybe if he had the last couple of months with Forrest in front of him, that might have been different to form a relationship. Having Christie in front of you might be a hindrance as well, because, you know, when that goes forward, the ball's just lumped into the air, isn't it? So I don't know.
You know, with Christie, you can have no cover then, really, if you're with Christie there then either. So you don't. You know, I thought Christie was embarrassing again today as well, wasn't he, Christie? You know.
Oh, he was some rugby player, wasn't he?
You know. And the 2 goals.
I'm actually that pissed off with Christie for the last. It's unbelievable. I could go on about him for ages. I just think he'd be a waste of jersey all season. And to me, he's let himself down because he's a Celtic supporter. He should be one of the ones that's out there and leading the team, showing, putting a bit of effort.
And is this over his dad? Do you think he's like that? That his dad is kind of promoting him, this big player, and he wants. Would it have been his dad that's turning his head? That's where he.
Why season he's seen pound signs? That's what's happened to him.
Him and Tierney's still friendly. I think that's maybe something to do with he saw. Do you know what I mean? The kind of level Tierney's at with wages and that, and he thought I could go a bit of that. But still no excuse. There's still for the performances off him.
Exactly. See, for that, it's going to justify that. You know, see, if you've had a great season and somebody comes in and offers a lot of money and pays a lot of money for you and gives you a lot of wages. That's what we're all about. Thanks very much. Move on.
I mean, can you imagine Christie going down to the Premier League and working with all these top coaches and all that? And it's just his basic game is give me the ball, I'll make space and I'll shoot. That's never going to work. And that's all he's done. He's never really. Nah, I'm not even going to keep going on about him because I'll just get angry about it now.
So you don't like Christian in it, no?
I did, honestly, Brian. I thought he was a great player for us, but his attitude and the way he played this season is just really, really scunnered me.
That's the problem. If you change your attitude, like I say, you can't forgive. You can forgive somebody for thinking they're better than but prove it.
Exactly.
He had one good season, and that was it.
You can forgive Scott Brown for getting older. Do you know what I mean? You can forgive a goalkeeper for making a mistake, but the performances that Christie's put in all this season are total shambles. Total shambles. And into the fact that he's a Celtic supporter, that makes it even worse that he's not even really putting in the effort for it.
Would James Forrest have made a difference in that start lineup today? Would you think you would see a different attitude if James Forrest was in that team today? That in the last two games he came in, we played different, right?
I just see with Forrest, the fact that we've missed him so much has been. I mean, I'm not a big fan of James Forrest, if I'm being honest with you. But the fact that we have missed him, but we can't use him as an excuse for no playing well. You know, it's not. I mean, the difference is the problem with Forrest is that we've had nobody to replace him on that side, and Christie's sort of. I know he gets pelters and rightly so and everything else, but I think one of his excuses is the fact that he's been shoehorned into that position. You know, there's been nobody to replace Forrest on that right wing. But listen, there's no excuses for anything this season, none at all. It's been embarrassing.
A lot of people say Christie has played better for Scotland than said. Is that because of the? Like, I don't watch a lot of Scotland international football, but is that because of the formation that Scotland played that it suits Christie, and maybe the formation we played though doesn't suit Christie, right?
Yeah, I don't think it. His heart's obviously done it differently for Scotland. I think that's what the bigger difference is. You know, I mean, he's had some good performances for Celtic. Let's not get out of the way, but he's just not been consistent enough for the guy that he thinks he is. You know,
exactly.
There's lots of players that play for Scotland that you'll say, oh, he's had a good game. I mean, the amount of times I read in that forum of that the people are championing Declan Gallagher. He had a couple of good games for Scotland. There's no chance you take him for Celtic, surely.
You know, you could be chasing Declan Gallagher either. Just, I mean, he's what, 28, 29 now?
Oh, don't get it. No, they should be better than that.
Is that your private landing there, Welshie?
Private jet?
That sounded like a jet landing or a helicopter or something.
There's one thing for sure, I'll not be driving anywhere.
Just gonna. So, where do we go from here? The tools are off. Do we just write off this season now and start from scratch?
To be honest with you, my opinion is give some of the young boys a chance. Let them grow. Let them see what's. You know, we spoke the other night about Welsh coming in. There's no fans there. You know, let a few of the young boys come in and settle, see what they can do without the pressure. You know, the fans behind them and stuff for that. And obviously next season they might go in as first team players. They maybe no. Let's just give them a chance. But to me, see these first team players that we've laid our hat on all season, no chance again. That again. Who cares if we lose the rest of the games the rest of the season? I actually don't care. As far as I'm
there's no harm in it. There's no harm like in giving these young players a chance. No, right, because we've got to play for. See what they're like in the last couple of games. You know, drop the likes of Skpe, drop the likes of Edward, get Zora in there, see what Zora can do. You know,
today was everything to play for, and we messed it up. That was it. Season's over. Move on to next season.
Move on to next season. Brian, we're going to
planning for next season. Start planning for next season. As Brian says, get some young boys into the team. Let's see what they can do. Obviously, we're saying the next manager or the next candidates, even if there are 2 or 3 candidates, to me they'll all be watching the games and their homework done. Get the young guys in. Let's see what we can do. Who knows? We might find a couple of gems.
That's it. But listen, we spoke this the other night there. It's not a case of throwing 6 or 7 of them in. Give them 1 or 2 at a time. Give them a chance. Half an hour here, 40 minutes there, 1 at a time. And let's see who handles it rather than expecting them all to go and win the game. Do you know? And the other thing as well is we're actually in a good position looking forward to the qualifiers next season because we need to start again. But rather than getting into the qualifiers in July with an end of season where we've won 4 trophies and everybody's knackered and this, that, and the other, get it started. Get the as far as I'm concerned, get the ball rolling now. Get what's going to happen next season started so that we can hit next season flying.
All right, folks, we're going to let it go, I think. Brian, again, thanks very much for coming on. Mark?
Flew by again. Thanks very much, Paul, again, for all your work today. You were smashing on that live thing you done, the commentary.
Well done, Paul. Well done, Paul.
Cheers, lads. Cheers.
Thanks very much for coming on again, Brian. You're more than welcome anytime, you know that. And for being sober enough to talk.
I wouldn't say sober.
So to talk, I was expecting. I don't even know what I was expecting. But
I said, I'm going online later. She's like, you're drunk. I was like, I'll sober up a wee bit.
Everybody that's tuned in for us all day, we've had a great day doing this for you, and I hope you've enjoyed it all.
Well done, boys. Well done, boys. Yeah.
Subscribe, please hit the subscribe button. And thanks very much, everybody. You've been great today. Right, God bless. Good night.
Thank you, lads. Bye bye.